listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us share part of your day. My name is Jerry Mitchell. Sitting next to me is the supervisor of the outfit. Myra's sitting here tonight.
Hello, everyone.
Making sure that I am appropriately supervised and stay on track.
I'm watching him.
Always. There is a whole lot going on that I'm not going to even think about looking at tonight. But if you are so inclined, the season's coming up when people like to give presents. Books make excellent presents, by the way.
Oh, they do.
Yep, and there's a couple of them out there. Tradition to Truth, One Man's Search for Honest Answers, and God's Universe, God's Rules. If you haven't gotten them yet, get one for you, get one for a friend.
Yes.
Lots
of friends.
They are sold Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever fine books are sold, you should be able to get them from. I would suggest you order from a local bookstore because they probably don't carry them, and they might want a copy or two on hand, just because it helps. It helps my bank account. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. It helps my bank account, all right? While I'm on the thing that helps our bank account, don't forget the likes and shares. All the things that you do for the social media stuff and the podcast stuff, right? Don't have to harp on that very long. But that actually does help us get noticed, helps people find us a little easier and that kind of thing. Now, if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that I have worked with large animals and large animal reproduction for a very long time, right? We've together have worked on breeding or cow-calf operations in Colorado. Really had a good time doing that.
Yes, we did.
Actually worked on some guest ranches out there as well. But, I managed a breeding farm pretty much right out of high school, and that was for racehorses. So, I know a little bit about the statement that I'm going to make here, okay? And that is, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, okay? That's just the way it is. You can't, it doesn't work. You can walk them to wherever you want, but you can't force them to do something they don't want to do. And, we're going to look at David's, something he wrote here in a minute. So I want to say that a good shepherd knows that you can lead a flock to lush grass, and sometimes they will trample over good grass just to go eat the weeds. And if anybody has ever had anything to do with sheep, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've had them. And there's a lot of people out there that like them. I kind of tend to like lamb more than mutton, but just saying. They are one of the dumbest animals around. They're just not very smart. There's things that sheep will do to destroy themselves. So is it any wonder that people are compared to sheep in Scripture? I was going to just read part, or let Myra read part of this, but I think we're going to do the whole thing, and it should be familiar.
The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He gives me rest in green pastures. He leads me to calm water. He gives me new strength. For the good of his name, he leads me on paths that are right. Even if I walk through a very dark valley, I will not be afraid because you are with me. Your rod and your shepherd's staff comfort me. You prepare them a meal for me in front of mine enemies. You pour oil of blessing on my head. You give me more than I can hold. Surely your goodness and love will be with me all my life, and I will live in the house of the Lord forever.
Now, if you like that particular version, that's actually the International Children's Version. And even without me telling you, you actually read part of that correctly. You have a habit of doing that, though. For the good of his name, he leads me in the paths that are right. He doesn't do it for us. He does it for himself. Okay? And it was the whole thing. But that it's all good. David is comparing the Creator to a good shepherd. A good shepherd knows where to find good grass and good water for his flock. In other words, he knows what's best, the best things for his flock. He knows how to take care of them. A good shepherd is not going to try to force a sheep or even a goat to eat something that's bad for them. Now, medicine, it's a little different. Sometimes, hopefully not very often, but sometimes we need to give medicine. Especially, now listen to this very carefully, we must give medicine when something that has been consumed that was bad for whatever consumed it. Did I say that plain enough? Okay. We give medicine for a reason, and that is to help with something. Now, Solomon writes that a good heart does good like a medicine, right? Sometimes we need to be reminded that we need to have a good heart. And we're going to look at something now that, as I was putting these notes together, I remembered something I'm going to mention. But I had to go find where it was. And this comes from Jeremiah 46, 10 through 12.
But that day belongs to the Master, the Lord of heaven's armies. At that time he will give those people the punishment they deserve. The sword will kill until it is finished. The sword will kill until it satisfies its thirst for blood. This is because the Master, the Lord of heaven's armies, will offer a sacrifice. That sacrifice is Egypt's army in the land of the north, by the Euphrates River. Go to Gilead and get some balm. Go up, people of Egypt. You will make up many medicines, but you will make up many medicines, but you will not be healed. The nations that hear of your shame, your cries will fill all the earth. One warrior will run into another, and both of them will fall down together.
You had a hard time with that one, didn't you?
I got tongue-tied.
Sometimes when we try to help somebody, it winds up hurting everybody. And that's kind of what I think the person who wrote the hymn, if you've ever heard the song, There Is a Balm in Gilead, the person that came up with that song, I don't think was really completely familiar with this passage. Now, Gilead is mentioned over 100 times in Scripture. And not very often is it in a positive setting. The song was written prior to 1850. We do know that. Not exactly sure when or exactly who came up with it. But there is a balm in Gilead that soothes a sin-sick soul. And I'm not going to sing it. You don't want me to. The thing I want to really point out here is that feeling that we get from a song sometimes doesn't match where it comes from in Scripture. What we're looking at here in Scripture is go to Gilead and get something that's going to heal you. Get something good. But it's not going to do any good, right? You can go get it, but that's not what you need. What you need is something more important. A good shepherd leads his flock to good feed, but it's up to the sheep to eat it. You know, I have seen sheep walk across good grass to go eat weeds. Something that should be good for them, I've seen them turn their nose up at it and go pick on something that is typically bitter and thorny and nasty. I don't know why, but sometimes they will do that. We need to be aware when we try to help somebody. You know, what we think the kind of help they need might not be what they need, and it may actually do more harm than good. You know, the old saying about adding fuel to the fire, well, we need to keep that in mind when we think about the best way to help somebody we think needs help. You know, we don't give an addict more of what they're addicted to, right? We don't give a diabetic sugar unless they're way low, right? And diabetics know what I mean by that. You don't give money to the panhandler on the street just because you might think it's the right thing to do. You know, how many of us have had the opportunity to actually turn down somebody asking for help because we know that saying no is the best way to get them to stop being enabled to remain in their position. Sometimes saying no is actually leading them to good grass. Sometimes you have to recognize that what somebody wants might not be what they need. There's places not too far from where we live that see the same people repeating the same behavior. They keep coming back, getting the same help, time after time, day after day, sometimes week after week. But these folks that are offering the help will boast about how they're helping the community. Well, they're not actually helping the community. They're helping themselves. They're making themselves feel good because we're taking care of these people. Well, the whole concept of helping someone is to raise them up when they need something, not can keep them in the situation they're in so that you can keep feeling good about yourself, right? They add fuel to the fire so that they can boast about how large the fire is that they're trying to put out. A good shepherd knows he doesn't help here. He's not helping the sheep. If he were trying to, hand out individual blades of grass, right? You just can't do that. But that's exactly what some people are trying to do for others. They want to feel like they have helped somebody, so they keep offering these little small tidbits. Nothing that's actually going to do any good for the person, but it makes the helper feel better. If you want to really help somebody who might be homeless or hungry, find out why they're homeless and hungry. Some people want to be enabled to remain in a dismal situation. They're comfortable in their misery. Those are the people who can be helped best by being encouraged to help themselves. They can be encouraged to go get a job. It doesn't have to be an office job. It doesn't, you can't take somebody off the street today and put them in a surgical room tomorrow, right? It just doesn't work that way. You give them the opportunity to earn their way back into society so that they can learn that they have a responsibility to mankind to participate in humanity. And then you allow them to do that. You don't just keep giving and giving and giving and keeping them where they are so that you feel good about yourself. I offered a job to somebody one time. They were standing out at an intersection, and they had this sign that said, "We'll work for food." Well, I happened to be in a position to give them a job. So I stopped and I asked, "Is that sign for real?" And when I told him what the job was, he didn't want to do it. It could have been very beneficial for him. I've offered various people work over the years. Some of them have actually, taken me up on the opportunity. Some haven't. There was a time that I had an opportunity. The fellow was looking for a handout. He needed baby formula. I said, "I'm not going to give you any money to go buy anything, but I will take you to the store and buy your baby formula for you." And I'm not saying this to brag. Okay, I'm using this as a personal example of how to offer real help to people by getting involved on a personal level and giving real help. Offering real help. Finding out what the real need is. And then, if you're in a position to help, offering the help. I know somebody who volunteers as a financial counselor in a church. Their advice is free to the people that are willing to listen. And he teaches people how to manage their household income. I know others, I know about others who volunteer to teach people how to cook. One person does odd jobs for different church groups. And he actually takes some of the folks that come who aren't trained and aren't skilled to do anything, and he'll take one or two of them around at these odd jobs and teach them the skills that they need to do some simple repairs. When we think about helping other people, we need to focus on the best way to help them and not ourselves. We shouldn't be willing to keep somebody else down so that we feel lifted up. We shouldn't force feed the sheep bad weeds so that we can feel good about giving them medicine. Did that sound as good to you as I think it sounded to me? Yeah? Okay. We don't put people in a position where they're going to hurt just so we can feel better about ourselves. We don't keep people in misery so that we have a better place in society. Yeshua said the poor will always be with you, and he gets it from Deuteronomy 15:7 through 11.
There might be a poor man among you. He might be in one of the towns of the land of the Lord your God has given you. Do not be selfish or greedy towards your poor brother, but give freely to him. Freely lend him whatever he needs. Beware of evil thoughts. Don't think the 7th year is near. It's the year to forget what people owe. You might be mean to your needy brother. You might not give him anything. Then he will complain to the Lord about you, and the Lord will find you guilty of sin. Give freely to the poor person. Do not wish that you didn't have to give. The Lord your God will bless your work and everything you touch. There will always be poor people in the land. So I commend you to give freely to your brothers. Give freely to the poor and needy in your land.
All right. And you notice it doesn't say give money. It says give them what they need. It doesn't say give them what they want. It says give them what they need. Sometimes all people need is somebody to listen to them. Sometimes all people need might be a ride. Sometimes what people need, might just to get from point A to point B, right? They think they need, a brand new Mercedes-Benz to do it in, when what they might really actually need is just a bus ticket, right? It doesn't say give money. We give the help people need, not, and it's quite often what they need is very different than what they want. Leading the flock to good grass is easy. Convincing the sheep to eat what's good for them and to leave alone what's bad for them is kind of hard. But the shepherd does it anyway. Speaking the truth is not always easy, but convincing people they need to hear the truth, that's a little more difficult. People like dessert, don't they? People like sweet stuff, right? They want to eat the things that are bad for them, but they don't always like to eat the healthy stuff. They like to hear things that are bad for them too. People will listen to gossip. People will spread gossip and spread rumors much faster than they will spread truth. There's actually a lesson in Genesis about that. It has to do with Joseph in jail. Bad news travels fast enough, right? You don't need to spread it around. The amazing thing is, when we are in a position that we can offer helps to somebody, we offer that help in such a way that it's what they need. If you try to force something onto somebody, even if they think they want it, quite often what it does is it harms everybody in the around you, because you're giving them dessert. Here might be a good place for me to interject a short thing. There is a connection now between white refined sugar and cancer. Just saying, it's not always good for you. And by the way, when Myra and I were first married, we were married in October. So the next summer, when garden season came around, she was cooking squash, and I'm not kidding. I sat down. Now I grew up on a farm. I've been eating squash all my life. We sat down to eat, and the first thing she does is reaches into the sugar bowl, and it's not a little spoonful of sugar that made the squash go down for her. I mean, it was covering up the sliced fried squash. I looked at that and I thought, how disgusting. What have I got myself into? I think you have lightened up on that quite a bit in the last 30 years. The sugar didn't make that squash any more healthy. In fact, it did just the opposite. It made it very unhealthy. But that's how your grandmother taught you to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
I was a picky eater.
You still are. But, ew. Anyway, the point I'm making here is that sometimes, what might taste good, what might sound good, what might feel good might not be the best thing for us, right? Sometimes we get confused about what we want and what we need. People do the same thing with Scripture. They hear something and what they want to hear sounds good. So that is what they kind of adopt as their tradition or their doctrine for the day, right? It might change later. The Scripture itself doesn't change. It remains the same. But we have this way of hearing bits and pieces of it and saying, ooh, that, I can deal with that because it sounds a whole lot friendlier and nicer and sweeter to me than what it really says. It's the same way when we're trying to help people, when we're trying to lead someone to good grass, when we're trying to lead somebody to good doctrine, when we're trying to lead someone out of the traditions that's going to hurt them. When we're trying to get them away from the weeds so we don't have to give them the medicine, right? Sometimes we get to help somebody kind of at a distance because, it might just not be logistically appropriate to go and get personally involved. But the best way to help anybody is to get involved, engage them in conversation, find out what the real need is. What's really going on? Why are you in the situation that you need help right now? And then find a way to offer a real solution and be part of the solution. I know there is a real need for people to change their lifestyle, to be, to live more like your Creator designed you to live, right? And that's what Give God 90 is here for. If you go to GiveGod90.com, you can learn how to live the way your Creator designed you to live. Little changes that you can make every day that will help you develop that lifestyle and put you in a position to help others. Because if you live the way you're designed to live, your life will improve, right? It doesn't have a choice. It's got to. And then you're in a position to help other people. And that's what we're looking for. Making sure that everybody benefits simply because of the way we choose to live our lives. Leading people to the good grass and kind of encouraging them not to eat the weeds. And really not feeding them the weeds just so we get to give them medicine and boast about how good a job we are helping the helpless. There's enough of that to go around. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Be a good shepherd. Lead people to good grass. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I just hope everyone has a great weekend, and I'll be listening on Monday.
I will be remotely supervised.
Yes.
All right. Until Monday, many, many blessings, everyone.